An emergency fund. Exactly what is an emergency fund? Well, it's a lot like what it sounds. It's simply dollars or funds set aside to use in the event of an emergency or something unexpected happening. Some examples of this are a medical emergency, a job loss, and unfortunately, we've seen in 2020 a lot of job loss. And if this year hasn't taught you that you need an emergency fund, I'm not sure what will. It could be a car breaking down, or an appliance needing to be repaired, or even a basement flooding. And that's what Michigan is famous for, basements flooding. So the point is, it's important to have an emergency fund. So when those things happen, you do not have to go into debt or you do not have to borrow dollars. Now, when John and I were younger, earlier in our marriage, we had a car breakdown. And guess what? It was the transmission and it needed to be fully replaced, which was very expensive. And we did not have the money to do that. And it kind of leaves you with a sick feeling, like a punch in the gut when you don't have a lot of options. We had to get the car repaired because we needed it for transportation back and forth to work, but we didn't have the money. So what did we do? We put it on the credit card, incurred a large amount of debt, and it took us quite some time to get that paid off. So debt is no fun, and it can cause a lot of added stress to your life. So back to that emergency fund. It's important that it is liquid, and that's just a financial term that means it's easily accessible. You can get to it quickly if you need to. And the best way to do that is just at your local bank in a savings or money market account. You can get to those easily. And keep it separate from your checking account or an account that you pay your bills from. And that way you won't be tempted to see extra money and want to spend it. Out of sight, out of mind is better. Also, there's lots of benefits to having an emergency fund. The first one, like we talk about, is it reduces money-related stress. When something happens, you have peace of mind because you have those dollars to take care of that situation. So it gives you peace of mind. Second, it gives you financial freedom or options. So maybe you're in a job situation that you feel like is not healthy or you need to get out of. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you really don't have a choice. You could not leave unless you had another job lined up right away. So it gives you freedom to be able to walk away if you need to and have time to look for another job. It also could give you the ability to start your own business if you wanted to. But bottom line, it gives you freedom and options. Another thing is that it reduces the debt cycle or stops the debt cycle, hopefully. You know, most times you spend years or months trying to get that first debt that you incurred paid off. And finally, when you do get it paid off, guess what? Boom, something else happens, something unexpected, an emergency happens, and guess what? The whole debt cycle starts over again, and you start a new cycle of payments. So having those dollars set aside in an emergency fund will help you to stop that debt cycle. And lastly, it helps your loved ones feel cared for. If they ever find themselves in an unfortunate situation where they feel financially vulnerable, if you've set aside money and funds to take care of them, they will feel loved and they will feel peace and they won't have to worry at all. So the big question is, how much should you have in your emergency fund? Well, the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. So 3 months if you're in a dual income family, that means both parents are working. 6 months if only one parent is working. So that's just a basic rule of thumb. That is a minimum. You can certainly have more than that, and some people feel more comfortable with having more than that, and it's just whatever helps you sleep better at night. You know, this goes back to budgeting that we've talked about in a previous video. You have to know what your monthly living expenses are for budget purposes, but also so you can even know what's the appropriate amount you should have in an emergency fund. So this is a priority, and we encourage you to make it a priority. If you come to us and you have dollars that you want to invest, one of the first things that we will do is make sure that you have a proper amount in your emergency fund before we would ever invest any of your dollars, because we just think it's that important that you do that. And we encourage you to start somewhere, even if it's small, even if it's $10, $25 a month. Get into that habit of saving on a monthly basis. And then why don't you take a look at the budget we hope that you're creating and see if there's anywhere where you can cut back or shave some dollars off so you can add those to your savings. Or maybe for a while you could pick up a side job and put all the funds aside until you get your emergency savings built up where it needs to be. There are a couple different ways that you can look at adding additional dollars into your savings for your emergency fund. Well, that's all I have. If you have any questions, feel free to email or call us at any time, or you could also chat your question in the comments and we will get back to you. Thanks.